Going live and okay, here we go.
Here we go. We're live.
Okay, hi everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're dialing in from. I'm Jeremy Lustman. I'm a partner with DLA Piper, corporate partner. I head up our Israel practice based in Tel Aviv. Been in the market here for about 11 years, and we work very closely with a large number of technology companies in connection with their global expansion around the world. We've had very close collaboration with Ed and Jason and the wonderful team at Axis. And so it's a privilege to be with you this afternoon and to be moderating a wonderful panel of experts, of entrepreneurs, talking about, very pertinent and exciting topics of the day. First of all, before we get into our conversation, I just wanted to wish you all well. I hope you and your families are holding up okay. I know this event is encompassing many different regions around the world, and we're all in the midst of ups and downs in our particular locations. And so I just hope that everyone is safe and your families are well, and that we can all hopefully welcome you, whether it's in Tel Aviv or the next live conference in Europe. Look forward to doing this together, God willing, in the near future. So our panel today is focused on apps and experiences. Obviously, our session this afternoon is focused on DICE, on digital in-car experiences. We have the privilege of having, again, a great panel of experts. We have Michael Schon from Volvo. We have Jeff Furman from Amazon, Craig Conkling from Alpine, Nils Lenke from Cerence, and we have Walter Pijls from Holland. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to moderate just a very short session with these individuals. We'll kind of go around the horn, and I'll ask everyone to introduce themselves, just to maybe say a few words about their role, and perhaps a minute or two on kind of what's front and center in their organization vis-a-vis DICE, vis-a-vis apps and experiences generally, just to create the context for where they are and what they're doing. And then we'll have a couple of discussion points to go over, and then we'll shift in about 15 minutes to, I would say, a very exciting part of our program is introducing 5 entrepreneurs and their companies and having an opportunity to have them present and then have some Q&A from our experts. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Michael Schon of Volvo, and we'll ask him to go first to introduce himself, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Thank you again for being with us.
Thank you. So my name is Michael Schon. So I'm working at the Volvo Cars Innovation Department with advanced engineering activities. Prior to this role, I worked as a project manager with the development of Volvo Cars' next generation high-performance autonomous drive computer in collaboration with NVIDIA. My original background is actually as an aerospace engineer, and I worked in the space industry for 20 years and 15 years at the International Governmental Space Agency, ESA, European Space Agency, in The Hague, Netherlands, with development of several satellites in collaboration with NASA and JAXA. And the way we work with startups in Volvo Cars is we have an innovation department, and we also have several accelerator hubs. We have one at the Volvo Cars office in Silicon Valley. We're also working with Drive, Tel Aviv in Israel. We are working with Mobility X Labs in Sweden. And we're also working with our Shanghai office, Volvo Cars Shanghai office. So we are scanning startup companies all over the world, actually. And for some companies, we invest, and others we collaborate with. I can take one recent successful example from a startup company from Israel. That was UVI for vehicle inspection systems. And we now have done a trial where we installed that in the factory in Sweden, and it's been successful. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Michael. Why don't we turn it over to Nils from Cerence? I think we're waiting on a couple of our additional panelists to join. So why don't we hear from Nils, and then we'll turn it over to Walter.
Sure, Nils Lenke. I work for Cerence, and you may not have heard of Cerence. We were spun out of a larger company called Nuance, a year ago, a little over a year ago. So we basically, our mission is to put conversational AI or speech systems into cars. And we've done that into 325 million cars so far. More and more connected, of course, so hybrid speech systems. And I had a new business unit focused on apps. So I think it's quite appropriate for this session here. So we look into apps that solve problems for drivers and also unlock new business opportunities and revenue models for the OEMs and for us, frankly. So looking into things like payments in the car or car life, which is basically looking, explaining the car to the users from before they buy it all the way to service and maintenance appointments, stuff like that. And we work with interesting startups to bring new and fresh content to the OEMs. That's how we came here. One of the startups we're working with is Rotor Travel, and they made the connection. So that's why I'm here, and glad to be here, by the way.
Great, thank you very much. And why don't we ask Walter from Ford to say a few words?
Yeah,
Hey,
many
Walter.
thanks. I'm also happy to be here. Thanks for joining here in the session. Yeah, my name is Walter Pijls. I'm working for the Ford Research and Innovation Center in Europe, located in Germany. So Ford had different kind of innovation hubs around the world. And currently we have 5. So the hardest, of course, in the Detroit, Dearborn area. European ones, that's we in Germany. We've got a research lab in China. And also with a startup corporation in Silicon Valley and also in Israel, I've got recently an hub. And what we really do is on the innovation side, work together with startups, try to find out some POCs, what we can do together, and try to see how we can integrate it. And that can be, of course, on the digital side, on the product side, and broader of that. And I think that's interesting. As we all understand, we cannot do this alone, this journey. We need to do it together with multiple ones to make this all a great effort.
Are you in
100%.
Are you in Aachen?
Yes, in Aachen.
Okay.
Yes.
Our old building was across the street, right? The Nuance building, so I could see your building.
Yeah. I'm in the home office today,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's good
Same
to
here.
be so close. Yeah. Yeah, perfect.
So I think we're still waiting on a couple of our panelists, but maybe we'll jump into the discussion. Would love to hear your collective thoughts on a couple of points, and then of course, if there's anything additional that you want to share before we turn it over to our entrepreneurs, that would be great. But maybe just starting with COVID, since of course COVID is front and center on all of our minds, and COVID in some ways totally altered the 2020 that we anticipated in our professional lives, but I think a lot of businesses have risen to the challenge and have tried very hard to maneuver and be nimble and kind of figure out the best ways of staying relevant and staying sort of focused and charging ahead. So just in terms of where you guys were in your businesses, respective businesses, a year ago, kind of what were the plans for 2020, and now we're looking a year later into 2021. How has strategy changed? How have you guys adapted to COVID? Has it affected your business model? Has it changed anything? Maybe you could just each speak for a few minutes on how it's affected kind of your day-to-day world. Nils, maybe we can start with you.
Sure. So we just published our annual results. So we did not have a big dip, frankly. So we are quite lucky to get through a difficult year. I mean, obviously production numbers were down, but so far we were kind of unaffected, so that was good. But of course, we work closely with our OEM customers, and production went really south for a couple of months, and then it picked up again in China, which is great. I mean, some of the topics we were working on were really spot on. Like we started an in-car payment app, and contactless payment is really the topic of the day, right? So I think there is challenge here because budgets get tighter and production goes down, but there's also opportunity because people think certain things differently. I mean, even having a private car looks a lot more attractive than it used to a year ago when everybody was talking about shared mobility, right? So I think yes, it's a challenge, but there is also some opportunity in it.
Walter, you want to chime in on that?
No, I think I think everyone has, of course, the difficulties. And when COVID came, of course, we had to lay down the manufacturing capabilities from us, so we had to stop. Fortunately, it wasn't the long period globally. We could quickly take on, and I think for us, we had a good lessons learned from the Chinese team, who of course went further earlier into that, and we learned from that. But I think we also learn a lot about that. I think using also the digital way of selling cars, which was something which we thought in the past, okay, that's probably also an opportunity, but it's now just is there, and people take it up. And the same thing with innovation. I think in the past we always said, okay, we need to be in one room together to get our brainstorming thoughts on the table. But you see, this kind of events work as well in a digital way, and that's what we figured out. I think that also helps internally on cooperation and a global network easier, as we all are now. Yeah, addicted to use the digital environment, but that helps really to open up opportunities. And we see also on the business side opportunities coming in. So on the commercial vehicle side, as really also a big demand growing as more and more companies need to do more things themselves and need the capabilities there. Passenger vehicle side is also still good. Also the point what Nils mentioned, that people really think this ownership of a vehicle, or at least having the ability to step in something, is having another touch point again. So it has, of course, positives, but also has some negative touch points. But I definitely see some good points coming out of it in general.
Sure. Has the strategy, because of COVID, has the strategy, just in terms of thinking about the consumer and the and those that are purchasing vehicles and sort of occupying the road, when we think about the workplace shifting to home, when we think about people traveling in different ways,
yes.
It used to be, a year ago, public transport and, shared ridership, et cetera, was the rage. And now obviously everyone has concerns about that. So do you kind of think about your market a little bit differently because of COVID?
Absolutely. I think also what kind of offerings do we need to offer in the future? I mean, typically a family has probably 2 cars. The question is that in the future still needed? Do you every day need to go to your work? Is it the same kind of vehicle, and what kind of digital connection do you need to have with that? So I think the whole mobility question to be solved is really a bit changing there, and I think it's an interesting time to tap into that and see opportunities there, and that the things that for OEMs and perfect opportunity again to tap in that and make the opportunity working.
Sure. Maybe we'll just pause. I see that Jeff has joined us from Amazon. Welcome, Jeff. How are you?
Oh, thanks. Sorry about that. Back on. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Great to see you. Maybe we went around the horn right before you jumped on. Just each of the panelists introducing themselves. Maybe just a minute about their role and maybe a minute on strategy, kind of where you guys are right now, what's sort of front and center on your mind as it comes to digital in-car experiences. So maybe we can just hand it over to you and just hear some thoughts from you.
Sure. Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Jeff Furman, and I'm with Amazon with Alexa Auto, and in particular I run our skills team. So I'm really interested to be here with all the startups, as my goal is to enable companies from OEMs to startups and mobility providers to ship great Alexa voice-first experiences, skills for any of our in-vehicle experiences, or for anything having to do with mobility, let's say from home to car, like starting your car remotely, or booking an Uber or a Lyft or anything like that. And so that's a bit of what my team focuses on. I think also just of interest, we partner really closely with 2 other programs at Amazon, with both the Alexa Fund and the Alexa Next Stage, which are both geared at enabling startups to really think creatively about what voice will be able to do in the future, and start to interact at a deeper level with some of the experts at our company, and really just to accelerate a lot of startups in the voice space.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And how, right before you joined, I was just asking the others, just in terms of COVID, how has COVID affected strategy? Less in terms of the performance of the company, and more just where strategy was a year ago, and kind of how has your view on the industry, on the consumers, your products and services, how it's changed just even in the last 7 or 8 months?
Yeah, I think when we think about it, the most interesting area for us is how people have changed their approach to commuting, to going out beyond their home. And part of what our team focuses on is our local search and navigation experiences. So if you're sitting at home, we saw a lot of question shapes change to quickly ask what time are places open? Do these particular places have toilet paper in stock? Do they have elderly hours? Are there times we can go? And so we adapted really quickly to help people plan their commute, maybe not to work, but to a grocery store or to go somewhere well in advance and get those answers up front. I think that was one of the largest things that we were able to react really quickly to, and that we saw that change.
Sure. Makes a lot of sense. You know, one thing that you were touching upon, and I think the others also have brought out, is, you know, the number of services that are being offered. I'm getting a stopping stream in 7 seconds. I don't know what that means. Sorry. Let's just see. 1 second. Going live again. Okay. Okay, I think we're live again. And it looks like our session restarted, but we'll just spend about 5 more minutes on this front, and then we'll turn it over to the entrepreneurs. But what I was going to ask was, you know, there's so many additional services that are being offered, you know, through apps, through the connectivity in the car. And, you know, a question that I've seen come up a lot in the last year or so is how consumers should pay for it. You know, Amazon's a great example, but I would love to hear from the manufacturers. You know, do you look at these services as something that should be built into the purchase of the car? And just like if I'm purchasing, you know, the Amazon Echo, or, you know, there are certain products that you buy where you're paying for the product, but there's no ongoing subscription fee. But then you have Amazon Prime, of course, where you're paying for a subscription fee. And I think, you know, as car manufacturers, when you're thinking about what to incorporate in the vehicle, you know, I know Tesla signed on with Netflix and YouTube. Do you sort of look at apps and bringing them into the connected car as something that you're looking to provide as value add for the purchase at the end of the day, to try and, okay, hey, consumer, you're coming into the showroom, or you're coming online into our digital showroom, you're buying a vehicle, here's why we think you should be buying our car, and you're going to be getting all of these, you know, extra components as part of that purchase? Or is it much more, you know, we want to be a subscription-based model, we want you to be able to choose on a monthly basis what you're going to be doing, and if you want this, if you want to have Netflix, if you want to have, you know, these map apps, et cetera, you know, you can do so on more of a subscription basis, and, you know, we're going to look to charge you on an ongoing basis. How do you guys kind of conceptualize, as the car becomes more and more like our home and has all of this functionality, how do you think about charging for it? Maybe we'll start with Walter on that.
Yeah, it's a good point, of course, and it's a lot of things what you need to consider in that. I think first thing for us is, of course, to really check if it's a safe thing to be used into the vehicle environment. I think what we use is the voice commands, the voice recognition of our vehicles to really connect to a lot of applications to really ensure that it's a safe way. We've got on our side, as we call it, the kind of forward pass digital system, where different kind of persons can integrate their functionalities in. So on that end, we can integrate it, and that can be in different kind of models. So I think there's a lot of things still open, but a very important point here for us is really to see the overall safety of the use from the functionalities in the car.
Michael, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, Volvo's vision statement is freedom to move in a personal, safe, and sustainable way. And of course, what we're talking about now is personalization. So we want to create the best customer experience. We have different ways to do that. One is, of course, through design. But now with the next generation electrical architecture, we can do advanced sensor fusion and artificial intelligence to create a much better customer experience. Already now in the X40, we are rolling out with the infotainment systems, the collaboration we have with Google, with the Google Assistant and Google Maps. So we have that kind of ecosystem connected to the vehicle.
Is there a debate internally in Michael in Volvo, but I guess more broadly in terms of as you're investing in connected car technologies, whether it's built-in or facilitating brought-in? I know for a lot of people, obviously everyone is tethered to their phone. Their phone has all of their personalization on there, and oftentimes they just want to come into a vehicle, especially if it's going to be a shared vehicle, or it's not going to be one that they personally own, and they want to be able to kind of plug and play. Is that how do you sort of think about built-in versus brought-in?
Good point. I mean, what you're touching upon now is actually the 4 mega trends within automotive industry: autonomous drive, electrification, connectivity, and shared mobility. Every year, roughly, there is 79 million vehicles being produced, and it is expected that in the next few years, all of these vehicles will actually be connected. And of course, that opens up a completely new ecosystem, where, for example, you can repurpose the car and you can use it for some office work, potentially, some entertainment, etc. We also see that there are some safety aspects connected to this with vehicle to X, for example, where the vehicle can connect to various systems. So, with the connectivity, we can add a lot of customer value and also quality aspects. For example, predictive maintenance and similar things.
Nils, do you want to chime in there?
Sure. I mean, it's interesting because when you think about connected services and added value-added services and monetization, you really have the choice to build it yourself as an OEM. And I mean, it was mentioned, Michael mentioned their cooperation with Google, which is the one end of the spectrum, and then we had Walter mention their speech system for Cerence, which happens to be powered by us, right? It's a specifically built one by Ford. And then everybody positions themselves in the spectrum. And then you have the question, do people bring in their devices with them? And of course, that has benefits, but also it means the OEMs lose control over their own customers. If everything you see is a tech giant experience, so there are lots of choices to make. And what we try to do is offer the opportunities to have value-added services as an independent OEM-owned experience. So basically, my job is based on the bet that there will be paid for experiences. There will be subscription models in the cars without having to do this through the tech giant ecosystems. Not. I mean, looking at Jeff, not meaning there isn't space for all of us, but there should be a choice next to the tech giants. Is our bet.
Yeah, I see a lot of collaboration to make this work. I mean, the automotive industry is going through a big transformation now, and also one clear trend is that there will be much more software in the future vehicles. It's a huge change.
Yeah, I would just ask one more. Maybe we'll just touch upon one more point, and then we'll move into the entrepreneur presentations. Although I don't see any of them anymore here, so we'll
it's Jason.
We'll have to figure that.
Technical issue with bringing in all the speakers. So what we're going to do is we'll have the startups come in one by one. So after this question, we'll have all the panelists share their insights, and then we'll have all the entrepreneurs enter once and leave. So
okay,
last question.
Super. Thanks, Jason.
Gal from AudioBurst, then it will be Boyd from IOMob, then Peter from ChargeTrip, then Uliana from Let Me Park, then Carl.
No problem. Okay, sounds good. Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks, Jason. Last question relates to security. I mean, obviously, when we're talking about the connected car and we're talking about all of the amazing advantages that it brings, when you think about security concerns, theft of personal data, vehicle theft, manipulation of critical safety features, etc. I'm curious as to your views when you think about our personal device and we decide to download various apps. I think most users recognize that it's a personal risk that we take, that if we're going to be downloading one app over another, that the device that we have just happens to be the facilitator of downloading those apps. But at the end of the day, they're not all integrated. If there's a theft on our banking app, we don't think it's bleeding into our Hulu account or our Amazon account. It's sort of standalone, separate companies, separate apps, et cetera, that we're engaging with. When you think about coming into the connected car, obviously the car plays a very different role. In many cases, the car is, the responsible party in the room, if you will, who is responsible for integrating all of these third parties and providing seamless apps, et cetera. And so from a consumer coming in, my guess is that the consumer coming in is counting on the car company, the car manufacturer, to vouch for the level of security of the various apps that are in there. And, if payments are being introduced, I know that was discussed, how do consumers get comfortable, et cetera. So I'm just more, maybe a minute from each of you on how you sort of view the interplay of security and technology and kind of where, obviously it's critical and it's so important, but how you practically deal with those types of concerns. Mm-hmm. Why don't we start with Nils on that?
Let me unmute. Okay, so it's a great point, and I mean technology can help again. So we just put voice biometrics into the new S-Class by Mercedes for the purpose of personalization, which was mentioned. So you can load your profile and authenticate yourself that you are who you claim who you are. And next is that we bring this into the payment experience. I mean, in Europe, you have the challenge by PSD2, the Payment Service Directive, which means every transaction has to be authenticated based on 2 factors, and biometric can be one of it. So voice biometrics using a voice and a microphone is safe, and that it protects your transaction, and it doesn't mean you have to stop your car and put in a PIN. It's also safe from a user perspective. So yes, there are challenges, but technology also can help, but you need to design it well, right? It needs to be a safe experience. Also, it's not just the fraud aspect, but using it and keep driving safely. So 2 aspects of safety here.
Jeff, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I think I'd second that. I mean, security, it's foundational. It's built into all of our solutions and devices, from the beginning, and we really think about it in both making the experience secure, but also enabling customers to understand what we're doing on their behalf to make it secure, and to understand what's happening with from a personalization, like Neil said, and from a privacy standpoint about what's actually happening with their data and what's happening when they speak to an assistant. For instance, all of our hardware devices have a physical mute button, and you can cover the camera. But then another element is that we believe strongly in voice Chrome. Whenever you're speaking to Alexa, whether it's in a car, at home, anywhere, you have a constant reminder with that light bar of when she's listening, when she's thinking, when she's responding. So you can gain confidence that the interaction that's going on between you is something that you're in control of.
Yep. Got it. Okay, Walter?
Yeah, I think like to echo what the 2 guys already mentioned. I think what we really like to be is being this kind of trusted steward of customers while they're driving. I really understand all aspects of that. And before we launch something, that we really also check all those responsibilities from our side. So it's just not just integrating everything; it's really understanding what makes sense where. How can be operated safe from a functionality perspective, but also in the background of the security aspects.
Yep. And Michael, last word with you.
Yeah, we have safety and security. Sometimes they are used together, but they're actually 2 different things. Of course, Volvo cars represent safety and also security. So we respect GDPR. So we have various mechanisms to authenticate the driver. And of course, when it comes to security aspects, all the electrical control unit is used. They are done in a secure way. When it comes to the personalization, we anonymize data, and some basic services require the driver to be identified, but most services is for opt-in as well. So it is up to the driver to select.
Great. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, well, this was a great discussion. I really appreciate everyone's perspectives. It's a dramatic and exciting world, and I'm happy that we could even touch upon a couple of points this afternoon. So without further ado, we're going to move into the presentations. I'm very excited to introduce Gal Klein of AudioBurst. AudioBurst has transformed the discovery and personalization of talk audio. I had a chance to chat for just a minute or two with Gal before everyone else joined. He was explaining to me that what Spotify does for music, AudioBurst does for talk audio, and we're all big consumers of podcasts and radio and audio with our devices in our cars, and it sounds like there's been tremendous excitement, a lot of investor validation of AudioBurst, and happy and excited to hand over the mic to Gal. So welcome, Gal. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Gal Klein, CTO and co-founder of AudioBurst. And since I go first, please bear with me if there are any technical issues with presenting. So if you can all, so that's my first slide. So AudioBurst, the leading audio search and delivery platform for talk audio. We were founded in 2015, and as you can see, we have raised money from very important companies that have saw the potential of talk audio. It's either Hyundai from the car or electronic goods with Samsung, and the ability to go and monetize on talk audio with Dentsu, and of course, venture capitals. We're spread in Israel, Japan, and of course, the US. So talk audio is really on the rise. Everybody's talking about podcasts and video, and the importance of audio is the only companion you have when you want to do other things. And we see a big increase in usage throughout the last years, with millions of users listening to content. But when it comes to the car, nothing really changed. Like, we all remember this old AM FM radio station. So today it looks much better, but it's still the content that, you change your channel, it looks better, but it's still broadcasted talk audio that comes to you, or you know exactly what you're looking for and you dive into your favorite podcast. What AudioBurst is offering is a personalized experience in the car where they can consume the content that they care about in short format. So they're just getting the highlights of the important things, getting them educated, getting them informed, getting them entertained. And if you look at the side note of this presentation, that's exactly what this discussion is all about. How do we take our drivers and get them more entertained, more informed while they're driving? And basically, we've created the world's largest searchable talk audio library. It's all AI powered, so we automatically listen to podcasts and radio stations. We understand what's being talked about. We understand the stories, and we arrange them automatically, either for users to go and ask questions, like what's happening with any favorite topic, or just for the content they want. And it's also fully personalized. I hope I have enough time to go and do a demo for that. So how does it work? We go and first ingest the content. By listening to millions of minutes of podcasts and radio, we go and transcribe them. We extract audio cues, which are hints inside the audio that will allow us to go and segment that better. Then our AI system can go and cut that into the stories. We then index them with tons of metadata, and then we can deliver them into the units. Of course, the entire system is a B2B2C, fully API'd, with that, fully SDK'd. So if you want to take that as an SDK, if you want to use our library, if you want to use a player for web, it's all delivery options are available. So I'll jump to a demo. Hopefully I can present a different screen. So I will ask if everybody can see my phone. Is it okay? Can you see that? Am I sharing the right thing?
I see AudioBurst demo.
You see that the audio is better. Okay, so let me stop sharing and move to another window.
Gal, we have 2 minutes. Just you have 2 minutes. No, it's all good.
Yeah, we're in the time frame. Okay, so you see my demo. This is our app. This is a demo app. You can all download and start seeing that. And as you can see, there are about 120 different categories that you can go and ask for content. And you can either ask a content by pressing, of course, one of these, and this, of course, works with Android Auto, CarPlay, or any integration we've done with Ford, with Google Automotive OS, and Volvo. So we are great to see you guys here. as well. But you can also go and in the car, just go and ask for something. So how's traffic in New York? You see,
CBS News Time, 8:38. Let's bring in traffic and weather together on a busy morning. Tom Kimmins.
Yeah, it's suddenly getting busier. Now let's start on the rails.
So this was aired 9 minutes ago, so I can get the latest update from that. Of course, I can do what's happening with the election or what's happening with any other topic that I want. But if I want a more general thing, I can just go and say, play sports. And that will give me a playlist of the most interesting things that are happening right now in sports, short format that I can go and listen to.
Okay, Gal, that was,
and of course you can scroll between the.
That was great. I'm sorry to have to cut it short. We're just at the 5-minute mark. So you're welcome.
So I just need one more small thing. This is like where you can go and specify all the topics and you want, and you get the personalized playlist. So this is where you can go and personalize the whole thing, and you go into the car, you're getting the news that matters to you most.
Feel free to bring out whatever you want in conversation in the Q&A, but I'm just getting WhatsApps from from the organizers that they're just with their strict rules. So I apologize.
Hopefully
you did a great job. That was a really super presentation. All right, let's hand it over to the panel. Michael, Walter, Nils, Jeff, any questions, any comments, reactions?
Question for me, maybe does it work in different languages? Is it just enabled to English on the moment, or?
So currently it works. It currently works in Japanese and in English for the US content. The system is fully language agnostic. It's just a matter of understanding each territory and seeing where we're putting our emphasis. So we would love to get a challenge to go and put that into another territory. Because in every territory, it's not just the language, it's what are the news that matter in that specific area. So we're trying to get that initiative in US and Japan, and if we see the traction, we will of course expand.
Can I add to that? I mean, you mentioned you're creating the metadata, right, by listening to the audio. So you need to convert it from audio to text and then do some whatever classification. It's not like
not just that.
Sorry.
It's not just text. It's also changes in background speakers, changing in speakers, changing background noise, silence, hesitation in speech. There's about 35 different audio cues we also extract from the audio to do a proper analysis of what's being discussed.
Okay, but then you are language dependent, right? You need to train your system for a new language, I guess.
Well, I think ASR is more of a common language. It's not a big problem, especially when you don't need to have 100% on the understanding of the stories. So even if you do miss, and we have automatic training system because we scan the written media and we automatically update our ASR. So whenever territory we go, we already have automatic procedures to go and update our models.
Great, thanks.
Okay, that was super. I think we're going to have to end it there. That was a great presentation. Thank you very much. Great to meet you.
I will need to open up the room for another demonstration. I understand that this is how it works. So thank you all, guys.
Thank you, Gal. Thank you. Now privileged to introduce Boyd Cohn. Boyd is with IOMOB. Boyd is based in Barcelona, originally hails from Illinois. IOMOB deals with open mobility marketplaces, enabling public and private partners to rapidly deploy integrated mobility experiences. So excited to hear from Boyd, and thank you for joining us. Handing it over to you.
Thanks for having me. Can I confirm you can visually see this?
I can.
Yeah, we can.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So he already explained what we do roughly. We're building the world's largest ground mobility marketplace. We'd like to see ourselves similar to what Amadeus did in airlines over the last few decades, where they aggregated airline seats and made those available to enterprise customers, including online travel agents. What we're doing is the same thing for ground mobility. Amadeus had to do it for less than 1,000 commercial airlines. We have to do it for 10,000 plus commercial fleets of ground vehicles. But actually, you'll see in this conversation that there's evolution in, for example, how four-wheeled vehicles can be part of an open mobility marketplace. IOMOB is both horizontal and vertical. We're horizontal geographically, and we're the only company in our industry doing it this way, which is that we support intercity and intracity mobility of all kinds so that users can travel between cities and inside cities with the same interface. And not only that, whatever interface they have, if it's connected to our platform, it travels with the user wherever they go. So they can access local mobility services in any market with the same interface, like an app or whatever that might be. We integrate the mobility services down here. We have our own proprietary journey planner for multimodal routing algorithms. And then we deliver this sort of whole marketplace access via either an API, native apps, or a white label application, depending on what our clients need. A couple examples, UK rail operator wants to solve door-to-door journeys going beyond just rail, but actually allow the user to go from their residence to their destination. If they want to rent a car, whatever that is on their destination, all of that can be discovered, routed, booked, and paid for inside our client's interface. Similar here in Skåne in Sweden, we are doing the same thing with our SDK being inserted into a regional transit authority's app. This is coming out next quarter, which I think might be interesting to some of you on the panel, which is we believe we're the first in the world that does mobility aggregation like this, that can seamlessly combine private operated vehicles owned by the user with a range of available public and private and shared mobility services. This is just an example where instead of just relying on external services available, a user can also factor in their own vehicles in multimodal journeys. In this case, they've chosen a journey where they take their private car. We can, obviously estimate total cost of ownership or fuel costs to a public park and ride, which would be right here. And then they can finish their journey with a scooter, so a micromobility service. All of this entire journey is planned, multimodal routed, booked, and paid for inside whatever interface our enterprise client wants to deliver this content to their users with. And in the OEM space, I'm sure you guys have thought about this kind of stuff a lot, but here are 6 examples of use cases we're either developing with OEMs or are in negotiation with them. So one is peer-to-peer carpooling and car sharing. So when they onboard their sat-nav system, they can incorporate their requirements regarding when and if they'd allow their car to be shared or pooled, under what conditions. And then when that car is and a user is eligible for that fit, they would be exposed to our open network effect. So we've decoupled our front and back end. So any vehicle connected to IAMOB is accessible by any user of any interface connected to IAMOB. So it basically can expose that vehicle to a lot of people that meet the criteria. This is kind of a cool use case we're exploring in the UK, where when you have very highly congested highways, we could offer through an in-car experience a recommendation for the driver to deviate from a 4-hour congested journey to deviate and get off the next stop. You can book your parking inside this app experience. You can book your train. We'll do the whole thing for you. And then when you get to the other end, if you need a car, you can rent a car as well, all inside the seamless experience. So again, this combination of private car ownership and multimodal parking and all the rest. Some OEMs are looking at turning their dealerships into mobility hubs. I'm sure you're aware of that. OEMs are looking at
30 seconds. Sorry, 30 seconds.
Okay. OEMs are interested in the idea of trying new mobility services without building their own app and trying to get users, so they can plug vehicles into the open network effect of IAMOB. Of course, you can have your own B2C or B2B mobility as a service solution leveraging our technology, and naturally EV charging networks and multimodal routing with that. Here's an example of some of the traction we're getting with OEMs.
I'm sorry to cut it short.
That's fine.
Great job. Great presentation. Feel free again, if in the Q&A, if there are any questions, you can bring it out. Any panel, any reactions, any questions, any thoughts? That was really great.
So you've talked about the decoupling between your back end and front end, but have you thought at all about how consumers will want to connect through various different front ends as they have different multimodalities and go from a phone at home to headset and via voice only to in the car, and still continue that continuity of experience across different front ends?
We're not very far advanced in that at the moment. The interfaces that we've either deployed with or are being used right now would be white label app API is being explored by an airport for integration into a chat bot. And SDKs are going into existing apps. And with one OEM, we're in discussions about embedding something into their sat-nav system, their in-app car experience at the moment. But the full seamless across medium, no, we haven't really pursued that very much yet.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Anybody have any additional thoughts? Okay, well, Boyd, thank you very much. It was a really great job, and continued success. And thanks again for being with us.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, all the best. All right, now happy to turn over the mic to Peter Waller. Peter is with ChargeTrip, based in the Netherlands. ChargeTrip gives you the tools to make routing and charging effortless for your EV drivers and fleets. Look forward to hearing more. Peter, handing it over to you. Can't hear you. Peter, I can't hear you.
Is it working?
Now I can hear you. Yep.
Can you see a screen with the presentation?
Yep, we can see it.
Cool. So thank you very much. ChargeTrip is a smart EV-specific navigation company that makes driving EVs effortlessly and efficient for private drivers and fleets. And we believe that the future of mobility is going to be electric. But to get as many people into electric cars, you will need smarter navigation to do so. And this is because, and this is probably, you all know this, that the EV driving and charging ecosystem is tremendously fragmented and actually broken due to all the additional variables and inconsistencies and incompatibilities that impact your battery, your range, and therefore also your journey. And this makes EV driving actually very unpredictable, especially over longer journeys or across country borders, creating all sorts of adoption barriers. And we thought it was a bit ridiculous that switching to EVs would create a worse user experience as opposed to internal combustion engine cars. So we thought we needed to fix that, and we created an EV routing engine that is capable of dealing with all those additional variables and make charging and driving predictable. And this means that there's a paradigm shift going on in routing, where we go from there's one optimal route for all these different cars at the same moment to that you need specific routes for specific vehicles at specific moments in time, because you don't only need to take into account the road situational variables like traditional routing does, but you need to take into account all the other stuff that is also connected to the driver, to the car, to the charge stations, and to the outside variables of your specific journey. And that is exactly what we can do. So we can calculate in under a second for any EV currently on the road the optimal route from A to B, including the charge stations along the way. We take into account all the characteristics of the car, its plug types, its battery capacity, its charge power capacity, payment systems, outside variables like weather, temperature, elevation, road curvature. We take into account the availability of charge stations, predicted availability, by which we also optimize for total travel time. We take into account the optimal charge power, and we can also take into account personal preferences or business rules. We expose our routing engine through our GraphQL API, which means that OEMs or mobility service providers or tier ones can integrate our routing engine into their existing front ends. And for those customers who don't have their own applications, we obviously also have white label applications. We've been around for around 3.5 years. We launched in Norway. We work with Porsche and with numerous different charge point operators and mobility service providers throughout Europe, Asia Pacific, and hopefully before the end of the year in the US. We are on the lookout for OEMs who want to improve the UX of driving and charging by creating the missing link in that ecosystem, gaining competitive advantage by reducing adoption barriers for potential buyers and unlock new business models in the EV space.
Peter, 1 minute.
Okay, perfect. We're based in Amsterdam with offices in Bucharest, St. Moritz, and Chicago. We're backed by Total and indirectly by Porsche through APX. And we are at the moment 22 people. Thank you very much.
Super. Thank you. That was really great. Great presentation. All right, let's turn it over to the panel. Any thoughts, feedback, reactions?
I would have a question or two, actually. So do you only do the routing? Well, only, it's great. So thank you for the presentation. But I mean, do you also then help paying, or is it just finding your way, or do you also help with navigating the different payment options and all that? And second question is, do you feel yourself sometimes be in conflict with the OEMs who may want to push their drivers to their own partner system instead of maybe always the shortest or cheapest version? Is there a conflict there, or is it not a problem?
So no, we don't do payment. Our ambition is just to be the very best EV routing engine in the world, and we think that is that ambition is bold enough. And again, the EMS, like there are numerous EMSP services around the world, so that's taken care of, we think. As for conflict, what we can do is we can adjust for specific business rules. So let's say you're a charge point operator or mobility service provider or an OEM that has deals with certain charge point operators, and the choice is equal between a charge point provider A and charge point provider B. We can calibrate the algorithm to prefer certain charge points over others. However, we come from a very strong UX background, so we would always per se advise our customers to at least plan a route and not have their business model prevail over the usability of charging and driving EVs.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
You also take commercial vehicles into your calculations, because of course they have a complete different use case, depending on the load what they have with it. It's different than a passenger vehicle side.
Yes, so load is actually one of the variables that we can take into account. So I'd love to talk to you about the e-transit and what you're doing there. But what we can also do is take into account specific EV charging infrastructure. So if you have charging at a depot or a charge hub for commercial vehicles, that is obviously super important, especially if you want to start to optimize for total cost of operations and ownership. So we can also do that. So yes, very much.
Okay, good, perfect.
Okay, I think we'll call it there. That was really, Peter, a great presentation. Thank you for being with us. Continued success, and look forward to hearing and seeing great things. So thank you again for your time and a great presentation.
Thanks for having us.
Would now like to move to our next presentation. We have Uliana Torkunova from Let Me Park. Let Me Park consolidates all parking options, so you can tell Alexa to find me parking. It checks all of the options, finds your spot, takes your money, reserves your parking. Sounds like an amazing solution. Uliana also just was nominated as the Woman Entrepreneur of 2020 Award, has become a really wonderful role model for women entrepreneurs. I know she's been to Israel a number of times. Look forward to hopefully welcoming you back again soon, Uliana. And thank you for being with us, and look forward to your presentation. We can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
It's a new platform, so. Okay, so thank you very much. I think I can share my presentation and start about our vision, about our company. Just let me know if you can see my screen. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay. Yeah, I can. You can see, right?
Yep, we can hear you. We can see everything.
Okay, perfect. So, so yeah, my name is Uliana. You already know. So first of all, probably let me start with a small reflection and remind all of us why we are here, right? So because the technology is transforming the automotive and mobility sector, and because the drivers require vehicles that provide them digital and value-added services, and the vehicles that let them stay connected while driving, right? So let's just see at this slide. I really like it because it's data numbers, and one of them saying that 70% of drivers believe that connected services increase the value of the vehicle and improve the driving experience. The truth is that there is not so many digital apps experience, and some like this again is a voice that we were talking about. So Let Me Park were created with the aim to empower the connected cars and revolutionize the driver's experience by offering that very advanced and personalized mobility services. So one of the first problems and one of the first solutions that we are providing is the parking. And I want to point to the parking problem, which is definitely all the user experience, from searching for parking, paying for it, staying in the queues, managing expenses in case of the company. At the same time, the user has very low service differentiator. The user doesn't know what to find the real-time prices, availability of that parking spot, the information about height of the parking, electric chargers, and many other. And if the user knows and maybe uses some application, there are a lot of them, and it's just very confusing and very complicated. And another problem is like the market of the digital parking is very, very fragmented. And for example, in Spain, we have more than 20 different applications and parking services. So how we are solving that problem? Our approach is based on 4 pillars. The first one is an aggregator, exactly to remove all the market complexity, all those apps, and give the access to the market information in the real time. Currently, Let Me Park aggregates 20 parking applications and platforms. Those are the parking reservation apps and automated access and payment apps owned by parking owners, operators, or just can be the reservation platforms. And in this case, I also have the largest parking base, and I already told you we provide all the information in the real time and all the information that you can find in all the platforms. Definitely, it's very structured information. The second pillar is voice service, exactly to ensure the driver security and convenience. And in this case, since August of this year, Let Me Park is a native Alexa skill in Spain. That means that any Alexa user that can be in your car, with the Auto, with your phone, can just say, Alexa, I need parking, or find me parking. And Let Me Park will find the best parking, analyzing all the parkings around.
Juliana, 1 minute.
It's necessary to pay and access automatically. So it's fully automated service. And the third one is the process automation, from the search to payment. The fourth one is connectivity, to use data generated by car to provide the personalized service. And in this sense, we collaborate with Nextmark Car. It's a connected car technology provider for aftermarket car sector. And you can already find our service in their app. And now also we are working on some advanced functionalities that will permit the car itself to pay for parking on the street automatically. And also we will provide you the recommendations when you exactly need it. So also must be careful, because aftermarket cars can become more connected and with probably more digital services than the premium brand new cars.
That was great. Yeah. I'm sorry, we have to end it there, but that was really superb and great presentation. Let's turn it over to the panel and just hear thoughts, reactions, questions, any insights. Michael?
Several questions. What is your global coverage? I guess you have more than outside Spain. That was the first question. The second question is this for new cars or new vehicles, or was kind of an aftermarket installation possible?
So we are currently only in Spain, but one of our advantages that for us, we have very easy international expansion due to this integrator concept, because some of the providers, so a lot of providers that we have in Spain, they're also providers, and the parking platforms, parking companies operated. They're also present in other European countries. So we already have integrated that platforms. To us, it's very easy to go to other countries. But now we are.
I see you have two main data channels to interface with. One is with the different parking companies, and also for the payment systems, the different ones. What we have seen is that EV parking is becoming a big challenge now. There are a lot of intelligent parking garages that can report the data, but there are a lot of non-intelligent parking places where you just need to model the data of available parking places. How do you handle that?
First of all, we integrate all those platforms that you can pay for that parking. Like EasyPark probably would be one of them. And it's also very important to say that those parking that have the automated access platform based on license plate reader. So we integrate all of them. Yeah. In case it is like offline parking, we provide only the information of the location, we find the prices, but we connect to all the parking platforms and give the results. So I would say EasyPark would be one of our providers of the information, of the reservation, and also the automated access. But in this case, you will not have to register in another platform. But we also, I know that EasyPark in Spain is on street. But if it's in case of off street, you will not be able. You don't have to register in EasyPark to be able to enter the EasyPark parkings. Only one, and getting all the information from there.
We have time for one more quick thought or question. Anyone? Yeah.
So super interesting, and we have looked into parking all year. So when you think about global expansion, you'll be up against the guys like Arrive or Parkopedia and others, right? I mean, it's not that this is an empty space. What do you think is your differentiator against them?
So I think that integrator. So those companies, like for example, Arrive, they work directly with the parkings, right? And what we do, we integrate the platforms, like Arrive,
Okay.
Did I answer the question?
Okay, thanks.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Juliana. That was really great, and continued success and really advancement. Really awesome. We're now going to move into our last presentation, and happy to welcome Carl Hilzberg from Zeos. Carl is part of the team that previously sold iCloud to Apple, and so he has very much changed the way that billions around the world use cloud storage. It's a privilege to have him with us, and look forward to hearing about Zeos. Carl, over to you.
Hi, I can't seem to get my camera working, but can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you. Welcome.
Good. Thank you. And I will share my screen so I can show you a presentation as well. I can see it. Can you see it?
Yep, we can see it. Yeah.
Perfect. So thank you. And well, my name is Carl Hilzberg. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Zeos 3. And I'm going to show you that Zeos is a paradigm shift for in-car applications. Zeos itself, as you mentioned, is a spin-out from the Swedish company that previously was behind iCloud before it was acquired by Apple in 2011. And over the years, we invested over 9 million euros into Zeos 3 technology and our 18 issued US patents. But in 2018, we spun it out into its own company with the purpose of commercializing this amazing technology. And the problem that we see in the software industry today is that software is built separately for every separate device, whether it's software for laptops, smartphones, or even in-car infotainment systems. Software companies, they just keep reinventing the wheel without having a real common denominator to base their software on. And this is what we really changed with Zeos. It's a complete solution for developing entire front ends of applications. Applications that look and feel and have the functionality of native software, but it's described with our easy-to-use markup language that is then interpreted by our runtime engine so that it can run in basically any device in the web browser without any need for installation or any plugins. And moving on to the automotive industry, so what can Zeos do for automotive? Well, by enabling this rapid development of highly skinnable HMIs and in-car applications, Zeos kind of changes the game for in-car apps. Zeos allows car manufacturers to create somewhat of an ecosystem of applications and software that can run both inside and outside of cars. It enables software companies and startups to actually contribute, in a sense, to a software ecosystem that turns cars into smart devices. Because that's what we see is the future for the automotive industry, to make a car the next personal smart device that's capable of working seamlessly together with all of other smart devices. And that's what Sios solves. So showing you that it actually works, we've done a project together with Actia Nordic and a company called Cloud Backend, where Sios was used for building the UI and in-car applications. It looks like this, but it's of course fully customizable. And if you visit Actia Nordic's YouTube channel, it's actually a video about this, and I can share the link to it in the chat as well. But using web applications in a car requires, of course, not only a stable platform for actually building them, it also requires a stable platform for running apps, and that is our runtime engine. Because Sios makes it possible for apps to adapt to the device they're used on, so software companies won't have to build separate apps for separate devices anymore. It means virtually that the same app can run on laptops, smartphones, TVs, and inside of cars. So when applications run in Sios, they will also utilize local processing power on the client side. So this means that it can actually work independently from data centers and even internet connectivity from time to time. So it's perfect for running apps on devices that are on the move, like a car. So in essence, what we're doing with Sios is that we give OEMs and software companies the possibility to build apps that includes the car as a personal smart device. Because it's no longer just about moving the seats into the right position. It's about making the whole experience of a car personal, with cars that can adapt the UI and applications to its current users, and even personalize their look and feel. So with Sios Edge Cloud Computing, we also cut the cost for running apps in cars. Since more data is being processed locally in the car, less information travels to the internet, which reduces bandwidth consumption and cuts cloud hosting bills.
Carl, 1 minute.
Yeah. All that Sios needs is a web browser to run. Enables a better in-car experience without users having to plug the phone into the car. Instead, you can offer a seamless experience without the need to share any applications or data with Google, for instance. Because a seamless experience is what you can get with Sios. So besides the highly skinnable apps, Sios also enables running applications to be seamlessly moved between different physical devices. So you can, for example, just drag and drop an app from your smartphone into the infotainment system of your car. So forget about different apps for different devices. With Sios, you can enable an ecosystem of apps that are truly device agnostic and allow the software industry to move inside the car and beyond the car itself. And this is kind of what our vision with this is that Sios blurs the lines between our physical devices, creating what we call pieces of glass. There are windows showing your always online computer, making applications and data available on any device you choose.
That's great. We're going to have to, I'm sorry, we're going to have to stop it there. I apologize.
It was the last slide. So if
okay,
you're
awesome. You did a great job.
Together with us, we're also doing a funding round early next year. So if you find this interesting, you please reach out.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That was a great presentation. Let's turn it over to our panel. Any last questions, thoughts, reactions, insights from anyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael.
What is the overhead? I mean, many car manufacturers, they are turning to Android as a kind of a flexible ecosystem.
Yep.
So what is the overhead? Because you said that you were adding your middleware on top of Android.
So Sios can run on top of the car's current operating system if it's Linux, or it can run on top of Android as well. It only requires a web browser to run, basically.
Anyone else?
I have a quick question. When we think about the actual use cases and how people work with apps on a smartphone versus in a car, they're inherently, very, very different. Shouldn't they be, at least the front end, be developed differently to focus on the particular use cases and the interactions that we feel are best suited for those environments?
Definitely, it's a very good question, and that's one of the things that we solve with Sios is that we completely separate what the user sees and interacts with, so the UI UX layer, from the inner workings of an app and its protocol layers. So you can actually build apps that adapts the UI to the current device, so that you have the same application but with a different look and feel for the car, for instance, for safety reasons than from the smartphone. But it's virtually the same application built on the same platform with the same technology.
Okay, time for one last comment. Anyone else? All right, well, Carl, thank you. That was really superb, great. Thank you for being with us, and wish you continued success and wonderful advancement. I wanted to thank, of course, Juliana and Peter and Boyd and Gal, the prior entrepreneurs who all presented beautifully. And I wanted to thank our amazing panel, Michael, Jeff, Nils, and Walter. It was great spending an hour with you this afternoon. Thank you for your insights and your your thoughts, and really I think you gave the entrepreneurs a lot to think about, and I know that they're thrilled to have the audience with you, and it's been a pleasure to get to meet all of you and spend a few minutes with you, and wish everyone well, and hope we can see each other and be connected again very soon. So with that, thanks to the audience for participating. We're going to end this session, and I imagine you'll head over to the next session. All the best. Stay well and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.